Hey everybody, Steve Spohn here with Spohn Performance, and we wanted to give you a video tour of our Pinto manual rack and pinion kit for the 1993 to 2002 GMF body, Camaro and Firebird. We have a brand new Pinto manual rack. It's not remanufactured, it's all new. 3.75 turns lock to lock, and we have this in a couple variations. The one I'm showing you here is set up to connect to a K-member with the factory style rack mounts. So we have these two black tubes that you see here. We fabricate those onto the rack. That allows for a direct bolt-on fitment to your stock rack mounts. And the Pinto manual rack has a third mounting location cast right into the housing, and that would bolt on. And if you get one of our K-members set up for a manual rack, we have this third mount welded right onto the K-member, so this is a direct bolt-on. You have one of our K-members or any other brand K-member that's set up for the factory rack, you would get a mount included in the kit that you weld onto your K-member that'll allow you to bolt it to this mount on the rack. Same thing if you have the factory K-member. These two mounts will go to your factory rack mounts, and you would be supplied with a rack mount that you have to weld onto your factory K-member for the third mounting point. The fourth option we have is if you have a K-member that is equipped with Pinto manual rack mounts, then these two tubes will not be on the rack. You would just have your driver's side mount that's cast into the rack that will bolt onto your one Pinto manual rack mount, and then you would be supplied with this 6061 aluminum rack clamp that we machine. That's placed over your rack, and that bolts it to the second Pinto manual rack mount. So those are the four different application setups we have. Again, you can have the factory K-member, you can have our K-member with manual rack mounts, you can have an aftermarket K-member set up for the factory rack, or you can have an aftermarket K-member set up for a Pinto manual rack. If you look at this online on our website, you'll see in the option boxes we ask you what the fitment application is, and then you'll be supplied with everything you need to get it onto that K-member. You can see here we have the steering shaft, which is included in our rack kit. This one you see mounted on the rack is for an LT1, and this one I have laying here in front of the rack, that's for an LS1. Basically, I wouldn't even go by motors designations with everybody swapping motors. If you have a 93 to 97 F body, you need this steering shaft. And if you have a 98 to 02 F body, you need this steering shaft, which is, you can see why there's a price difference when we ask you what year. The 98 to 02 requires 2 U-joints on the steering shaft. The 93 to 97 only takes 1 U-joint. I'll zoom in here. You can see we're using Flaming River, low profile chromoly needle bearing U-joints. They don't need to be lubricated. Very high quality U-joints. They'll last you the life of your car. And as I said, they're very low profile, so they're going to give you maximum header, turbo piping, etc. clearance. The other thing you'll notice is that the 3/4 DD steering shaft, we have TIG welded in place to the U-joints. We're not just using the set screw, so you don't have to worry about set screws coming loose. Everything is set to length and then TIG welded together. The other thing that we include with our manual rack kits is a bump steer kit. We're using a 4140 chrome moly hex tie rod adjuster. It's going to give you maximum strength and durability. And as you can see, it has a nice silver zinc plated finish. For our actual bump steer setup, we're using a 5/8 inch XM series Teflon line chromoly rod end. Very high quality rod end. It's going to give you the free articulation that you want for performance, and it's going to stay nice and quiet, last a long time. The top and bottom of the rod end, we've got 5/8 inch chromoly safety washers. They're there for two reasons. Number one, of course, safety. If anything ever would pull through, you don't have to worry about losing everything. And number two, it gives the rod end the room it needs to properly articulate. As you can see, the ball has plenty of room to give you way more articulation than what you would ever see on the car. We're using a CNC machine 4140 chrome moly tie rod to spindle adapter, and as you can see, it's threaded from the top all the way to the bottom. What that allows you to do is adjust your bump steer right on the car without taking everything apart. No need for spacers. You can move it up and down right on the car, get your bump steer set to where it needs to be. Got a locking jam nut top and bottom. You just lock those jam nuts tight and you're good to go. The other thing we want to note, you'll notice these are CNC machined to the GM spindle taper. So it's a direct bolt-on fitment. There's no need to drill out your spindle hole to 5/8 inch like most of our competitors require you to do. They just use a 5/8 bolt down through the spindle and through the rod end with a bunch of spacers. This is CNC machined, so it's a direct bolt on. It's no different than bolting on an outer tie rod end. Hooks right up to your spindle. Tighten up your lock nut, you're good to go. So as you can see, you're supplied with everything you need, including the mounting hardware that you need. That all comes with. Everything's a 100% bolt-in application. The only exception would be, depending on your K-member setup, you may have to add that additional mount that we discussed earlier. It's an extremely light setup. You can drop some serious weight when you get your power steering pump lines, etc., and everything off your car. Also frees up a lot of room, cleans up the engine bay. Steering's very nice on them. They steer pretty easy. So that concludes our video tour of the manual Pinto rack kit for the 4th Gen F-body. Thanks for watching. I'm Steve Spohn, and I'll see you at the track.